Harley watches more horror films of anybody that I've ever met ever. And I was like, oh, you should do a horror movie review. Hey, what if we did it together? And then literally the movie ended and I just hysterically started crying. I literally, in the video, I'm like, this is a bad idea. This was such a bad idea.
All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of After We Wrap. The show that's all about who we are when the cameras stop rolling. I am your host, Gabriella Ortiz, and today, this is very exciting. We have two guests, and they are here to talk about their new project that they're launching. Now, I just want to give a heads up. My English sometimes is not very good looking, so wish me luck.
Good looking.
The Horde.
Love you.
I think, who said that? Celia Cruz. The Horde Girls. Harley Brown.
Bronwyn, baby. Retake it.
Harley Brownin.
Bronwyn, baby.
You see what I mean?
It's not just you. Every person's last
person.
name.
I will never be able to present an award.
I'm leaving it in now. I'm leaving them in.
Adele Dazeem.
That's me.
That is very true. I shudder for the day you're on an award show.
Harley Brownin.
Bronwyn.
I can't say it.
Bronwyn.
Bronwyn.
Do you want me to start doing? I have an idea for the future. I'm going to start dressing like you.
Yeah.
And doing your intros.
That would be.
Here, I'll do it right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the That's f***ing so dumb. Back to you. Bronwyn.
Win.
Like the
Like the
brawny
Bronwyn.
man.
Bronwyn.
This is going to be an amazing episode.
And Geri, Courtney, Austein, right? I forgot. I did forget to ask.
Courtney
Austein.
Austein. Yeah.
She's going to mess it up.
Yo, these names.
It's stressful. It's a lot.
God.
All right, silence everybody. Let's see.
Harley Brownin.
No, babe, are you? Is this a bit? Is this a fucking bit?
I'm sorry, but the word brown.
No,
you
baby,
say brown,
no. Look
right?
at me. Look at me.
I'm looking at you.
Bronwyn.
Bronwyn.
Now say that.
I'm sweating.
I'm leaving all of this in.
Say it again.
No.
Bro.
Just don't look at it. Don't look at it.
Bronwyn.
Yeah, don't look at the name on the screen.
Don't look at it.
Harley Brownwin.
That was pretty close.
Harley Browning.
Ooh.
And Geri, Courtney, Austein.
Yeah, okay, that'll work.
That was foxy, and I like it.
Ooh, that was sexy.
So, my friends.
My friends.
You've seen Harley before.
She's a two-timer.
She's a two-timer.
Two-timing
Machine on the Wrap podcast.
Wait, no, they deserve the space to say their names properly because I cannot do this. I failed everyone. I'm so sorry. Harley, please say your last name correctly.
We have 1,000 times at this point. Bronwyn.
I'm Harley.
Bronwyn.
You just did it.
Yes.
That was good.
She did it, ladies and gentlemen.
Impressive.
Gabriella Ortiz.
Yes.
No, it's Ortiz.
And Geri,
Ortiz.
Geri, Courtney, Austein.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Oh my God. This is. I'm sweating. I'm gonna go shower after.
And that's
this.
our episode. This is a new format.
Thank you so much.
The new
That's names.
The new format for After We Wrap is Gabby's intro.
Why am I like this, babe? Why am I like this?
I used to like.
It's because all of
You
the
do
brain
speak-
cells going to being funny and pretty, and then
Yeah.
you can't spell.
But also the spelling, it does look like brown.
I mean, if
Wait.
I were to
Don't
read it the
f***ing
first
don't.
time,
You know what? Name the typing.
you know what? I would see all of you speak Spanish, and then
I
and
was
then
just
let's see
about
who
to-
has the last laugh.
I was just
You are
about to
right.
defend you. You speak 3 languages, and English is not your first one. So
Heck
you
yeah.
speak
That's
English
so
pretty
cool.
f***ing good.
I can speak English and like maybe Pig Latin. Not under pressure though. Don't ask me to.
Language is interesting. It's hard, and sometimes I say words incorrectly.
I'm gonna put that quote on a shirt.
It's hard.
It is hard.
It is hard. Anyways, all right. So, the Horde Girls. I'm excited about getting to know about your project. But when you girls got in, I overheard that you were saying how you were planning. You were talking about how like the aesthetic is gonna look like and all that, and the camera angles. And I go, I just show up. Shane does everything for me. Good luck, girls.
I know we need a Shane. Shane,
Yeah, we need
you
a
looking
Shane.
for a part-time gig? He's like, no.
Need a job?
Yeah,
You got time, babe.
So much time.
I got all the time.
You can help them out.
Yeah.
At least, to get started, because
100%.
I wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for Shane and Kyle.
Yeah, it was definitely a hilarious trial and error process. I think we were like, okay, we'll set aside like 2.5 hours, and we should be able to film like a bunch of stuff.
We could film like
so much
5
of
videos.
weeks
It
of
took
content.
us an hour and a half to figure out where to sit.
Where to sit, how to sit on the couch.
And how to sit on the couch. And then I have like this shelf that has like all of these DVDs because my fiance still loves DVDs.
Well, guys, it takes time. I mean, episode 86, we just found what the concept of this show is supposed to be. It's supposed to be Gabby just trying to do the intro.
Exactly.
Also-
So, guys,
Trying
it
to
takes
say
time. Be
names.
patient. Be
Yeah,
patient.
I mean, also we spent a lot of time trying to put the lava lamp in frame.
We really wanted the lava lamp. Like we were like, how do we get the lava lamp?
Yeah, and it wasn't heated up. You know what I mean? It was like,
it wasn't. Yeah, that's right. It was just like,
it takes a lot of planning we didn't
yeah,
account for.
we did not
Yeah.
anticipate that. So then we had like 20 minutes left before Geri had to work, and we were like, okay, what do we film?
Really? We're gonna go
How do
now.
we- yeah. And then we were like, wait,
We did
we
one
didn't figure
video.
out what to say.
I feel like we're getting a glimpse of what it's going to be like.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it already. I cannot wait. So, Geri, it's your first time here. Thank you so much for being
thank you
here.
for having me.
So, can you tell the audience what Horror Girls is going to be about?
Yes.
Yeah.
And who came up with the concept?
It was Geri's idea.
Well,
Really?
it came out of Harley watches more horror films than I've ever, like, of anybody that I've ever met ever. And we were talking about like creating content, and I was like, oh, you should do a horror movie review. But doing something alone, it feels like it's overwhelming. And so we were at Sundance, and I just had an idea where I was like, hey, what if we did it together? You love horror films. I used to, and now I'm terrified. Like,
Really?
Like, absolutely. Like, I love
She's
going to
terrified.
like scary walkthroughs for Halloween, but like, I'm so scared. And I was like, I think this juxtaposition will be very funny. I'll die, but also, like, I think it'll be really fun. And then we were talking about like, well, what could the metrics be? Because we don't want to just like do like a normal review. And so then we came up with some silly metrics that we thought would be funny to share with people.
Okay.
Yeah.
But before we share what the metrics are,
Oh,
I
yeah.
do want to add that I find it hilarious because Geri is like she's genuinely a scaredy cat. She's terrified of everything. Like going through a haunted house with her is constantly like that the whole time, and I'm like, are you okay? Like, and it's so funny. But I feel like you've also found yourself. So Geri and I have done 5 movies together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Most of them have been horror comedies.
Yes.
Yeah.
But heavy on the horror.
Yeah.
I feel like you just found yourself in this horror world. And so
Yes.
whenever we like go to these events together, we end up talking about horror movies. And also at Sundance, people kept thinking that we were twins. Which,
like actual twins. We were like, this is
a number of
confusing.
people were like, oh, you guys are twins, right? And we're like,
we were wearing similar hats.
we wore the same hat. And that was,
That's all it
people
takes.
need. That's all people need.
That's all
They
it
don't
takes.
look beneath the brim.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, the same hat.
They're like boots
twins.
and hat and yeah. So
Yeah. So I just feel like it was something that we were naturally talking about all the time anyway. And we like hanging out. So we're like, how do we make fun stuff and also get to hang out more?
Yeah.
And talk about stuff.
and
we're
we've
already
never
talking about.
collaborated on anything just like the two of us. So it
Mhm.
felt like a really fun opportunity.
Aw,
Yeah.
I love that. I'm really
Yeah.
excited. So, Geri, it's interesting that you say that you're not a horror girl. Me neither, until I met Shane. And then I started to feel a little bit more comfortable watching horror stuff. The one show that I'll say, which I always bring it up, is The Hill House, The Haunting of Hill House. That's the one that I'm like, okay, that's the kind of show I like. I don't
Yeah.
like breaking bones, stabbing, blood, I'll puke. But
For
I
sure.
would think, a question, like this is, I'm genuinely, like, I'm curious. If you are working in horror projects, wouldn't that make it easier to watch horror?
Well,
I've never done a horror project, so I
Yeah.
don't know. But
It's
I
on
wonder.
my list of things to do with you.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's on my list of things to do with you. I'm
Okay.
still
I'm
gunning
waiting.
for
Yeah,
it.
let's do it.
I think Yes, and behind the scenes, it's so different. There's an element of like the emotions are true, but like so much of the practicality of doing the gags and stuff isn't. So like there's a level of detachment that you can kind of have in terms of the reality, like not when you're in the scene, but just in terms of like what it looks like. But I will say, I loved horror when I was younger, and then with the pandemic and just like, I don't know, my body processing trauma has found it really difficult to sit through a lot of it, and it just brings up a lot. But I found as we've been diving back in that actually, like, one, I think horror is such a valuable tool for storytelling and is going to be even more popular in these next 4 years. And I've also just started to really appreciate the filmmaking and the cinematography, and just like there's almost like more available to them camera wise and storytelling wise that I think is just really neat. And so that is allowing me to be like, okay, I'll close my eyes and I'll start bawling for 20 minutes after the film ends, and it's all worth it for the art.
for the arts.
What was the latest horror movie that you watched that made you oh gosh?
Harley was like, you should watch, we're trying to watch like nominated films, and one of them is Smile 2.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
God,
I haven't seen it
so
yet. I haven't
good.
seen it yet.
So it's so good.
It's so intense, though.
amazing. I mean, so I went
Her
to go,
performance.
unreal. I mean,
mean,
genre defying,
whoa.
so incredible. She's like one of the best performers I've ever seen. Her voice, her dancing,
Holy
her
shit.
physicality, everything. Her
Yeah.
hair. I'm in love. I
Yeah.
mean,
I have to see
Jasmine.
it.
She's
Yeah, I know.
a queen.
Princess Jasmine.
But when I went to go see it, I went to it was like an early screening, and I got there late because traffic to downtown LA is garbage. And so the only row that was available was the very front row. So I'm watching it like this close to my face. And I mean, if you've seen the movie, it's jump scares, blood, it's all of it.
I mean, I screamed at the top of my lungs, and my fiance was next to me, and he was like, "What? I've never heard you scream this loud." And I was like, "They're coming out of nowhere. Like, I had no preparation. I can't even put something over my head." And then literally the movie ended, and I just hysterically started crying. And I have a video.
We
of
do
it,
have
'cause
a
I was like,
video.
this is a bad ending. This was a bad idea.
Geri, she sent me a before of like, okay, I'm gonna watch Smile 2. I watched the preview for Smile 1 just so I could remember all the details, and like I'm getting ready, buckling in, here we go. I was like, oh, fun. Okay, great. This is gonna be awesome. The next video I get opens with her just going, tears, mascara just streaming down her face. And of course, like my initial instinct was to laugh. Like I thought it was the funniest thing ever. I was like, people are gonna love this. This is gonna be so funny. And then I was editing the video, and I was like, oh no, my friend is really crying. Like she's really upset.
I mean, it was just so sad.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was very sad.
Oh my
sad.
gosh.
So we'll see. I literally in the video, I'm like, this is a bad idea. This was such a bad idea. So hopefully I'll survive.
Is it scarier than the first one?
100%.
I
Really?
definitely think so.
Infinitely,
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, from
Yikes.
top to bottom, I feel like even just like the effects are better. The storyline is really strong. The implications are like incredibly dark. All of it. It's great. I mean, I want to recommend it to you, but I think it might kill you.
No, I'm actually
almost killed
thinking. I think I can handle it, but I'm
you watched
wondering.
Substance. I was so
That's true.
impressed.
Substance was not that bad.
It's but graphically, it's
Yeah.
just like
Worse
Yeah.
than substance.
I'm thinking, do I want to be drunk or do I want to be high for this?
Ooh, drunk,
right?
for
Because
sure.
I'm thinking
High.
high, I would probably.
Don't be
I
high.
would.
No,
High.
I think it'll send you
Oh
into.
my God, you'll see that smile like multiply.
Yes. Well, wait,
Just
what was
Shane
that
smiling
movie?
at her in the middle of the night.
What was that movie that we went to see and I had a panic attack? Oh, Beetlejuice. That was because
but it was not because of Beetlejuice.
No, but it wasn't.
I just
it
want to
wasn't
preface.
because of the movie. It was
There was
because
a
there was a
guy
person
that was just standing by the
Yeah.
entrance area that just stood for like
It was
30,
just-
45
Okay,
minutes
that's
looking
creepy.
back at the audience.
Yeah.
watching the movie.
and I
looking
started
back at the audience.
panicking. Yeah, 'cause
So
then
we
I-
were both like, I'm like, fuck, is this gonna be something?
Yeah.
And-
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I mean, yeah.
But okay.
But yeah, it wasn't Beetlejuice.
I was
that
like,
said
oh,
it.
no,
it wasn't Beetlejuice.
I was like,
it
I don't think you can handle anything. I can handle Beetlejuice.
So favorite horror movie.
I would say well, okay, I have different categories, but overall I would say the Babadook is probably my favorite.
Oh, that's one that I've been told not to watch.
Yeah, I think it's definitely very scary. The first time around, it absolutely scared the crap out of me. But the reason why I love it is because it's about grief. And I think that, like what you were saying, I think horror is such a beautiful genre in telling like deeper stories in a way that's fun and exciting to me anyway. I think it's fun and exciting. But Babadook especially like tackles grief in such a poignant way. And for me, like part of the reason why I love horror is because it allows me to experience the dread and anxiety that I feel in like normal life, but in a controlled manner that I am picking. And so I have control over my destiny. And it's just a beautiful outlet for that. And so I don't know. I think that the horror movies that I'm drawn to are the ones that have the deeper messaging.
Okay.
And yeah, Babadook is that. Also, it's just freaking terrifying. It's so scary.
No, I've been told it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would say Cabin in the Woods is one of my
Ah.
favorite.
Ooh,
Which is like fun, but also the ending is scary. You know, like it has scary, but it's fun moments. A little levity. I need in my life.
Also, it has Chris Hemsworth.
I mean,
That's
you
true.
can't go wrong. Yeah.
Do you ever go to the cabin and think about that movie?
The Cabin in the Woods.
Just if you are like, I don't know, let's go weekend, to a cabin with my fiance. Do you ever arrive in the cabin and think maybe I'll die?
For sure.
I've had thoughts
feel
like that
yeah.
because of the
I
movie.
feel like I had a moment where I was watching Scream with an ex of mine, and I remember looking at him and being like, do you really know anyone? I like started to freak out, and I was like, this is bad for our relationship. He wasn't
Or
great,
maybe
but like,
your gut was telling you
Yeah,
something.
I was
I
like,
don't know.
well, yeah, completely wrong, but he didn't kill
Exes
me.
are exes for a reason. Yeah. So I'm saying. But good he didn't kill you. I'm glad.
Yeah.
But okay, Cabin in the Woods though is fun because I love to explore like what fun ways I would want to die. Is that a weird thing to fantasize about?
Well, we're
I
going
was
there.
expecting for you to say fun ways to escape. It's like,
that's a
no, I knew you were
Yeah.
going to say die. I was like, we're going here.
Yeah, well, because the people. Spoiler alert! It's so old. If you haven't seen
If
it,
you haven't
it's
seen
your
it,
loss.
Get on it.
But the like people controlling the cabin are coming up with like all these fun scenarios, and so I like to
Well, if you were
fantasize.
in a horror film setting, what is like your dream death?
oh,
I feel like
question.
one of the scariest for me personally is. It would be like I'm on the toilet or like somewhere like super vulnerable where I'm like exposed, getting out of the shower, like just with a towel on. And then the walls closing in on me
Interesting.
has always been like such a huge
Interesting.
fear
Yeah.
and like something you can't control, which if you haven't seen Hard Eyes yet, go see it. It's very bloody and it's out in theaters right now. It's so good. It's also a great Valentine's Day date idea. It's kind of a rom-com. Kind of. It's a rom-com. Horror rom-com. But there's something in there that
the walls coming in though. Like I
Yeah.
felt that.
That's so
There was
scary.
I cannot remember what movie it was, but it was a scene where someone was trapped and the walls are coming in and the person couldn't get out and it was like, and what a weird.
It makes me want to crawl
Ooh.
out of my skin. Like
Yeah.
nothing makes my heart beat faster. Like ghosts, I can handle. I I'll talk back to a ghost. I'll fight you. But you can't fight a wall.
Yeah.
Moving in to crush you.
Yeah.
Can't bite a wall.
No.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I feel like my natural instinct is to be like, I want something funny. So like something that like a kitchen utensil that's like not like I would get like beat to death with a
Blended.
beater, like blended or something. That sounds
To the
terrible,
eye.
but yeah,
Like a blender.
I mean that sounds terrible, but like some way that would be like funny. But I did go. I went to 17th Door, which is like this immersive like horror. What is it called?
It's kind of like an escape room, but not.
Maze
It's like
thing.
a haunted house.
Yeah, it's like a haunted house, and you get like one of them. You get put into this thing where you're on your belly and you're up against like a jail cell and you're supposed to they give you a combination and you're trying to get out of but the combination isn't gonna work, obviously. And so they push you down and then they basically start to drown you. And I didn't realize that was like a part of the thing. And I guess you're only underwater for a very short amount of time, but to me it felt like forever. So I feel like drowning would be... That was a long way to say like drowning is so scary to me and feels like it would be torturous.
I also feel like getting your skin peeled off too. I don't know, like
is that something you want?
I don't know. Well, I feel like I want to see myself on film like without my skin. It's not something I want to experience in my real life, but just I don't know, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like we're forgetting about being buried alive.
That is also terrifying.
That
like
is
in a coffin. You wake up in a
Buried
coffin.
alive.
You're already under, and there's just nothing you can do. You're just in a coffin.
I would also say though, like the substance, the end, to die like that, it would also be so satisfying.
Just like a
blob and spray all of these awful people with gallons and gallons of blood.
That would
feels
be,
like, I mean,
that'd
what
be
a way
fun.
to go.
This is what I said the last time I was on the
go.
podcast.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why the substance felt so cathartic to me was because it's a story about female rage.
Yeah.
And the idea, of like spraying my blood in the eyes of all my haters and like white men.
Yeah, punishing them
Yeah.
with my blood.
I join in. Yeah, I would definitely join.
Yeah, there's
All right, so let's do something fun. I want you to look into the camera and share a message for Harley and Geri to watch a year from now. So your 1 year anniversary from the Horror Girls. What's something that you would say to yourselves looking back? Any advice?
Oh my God, you did it!
You kept going for Geri didn't die watching all these scary movies. She's still alive and she's not completely traumatized.
Yeah, or you are. And we're going to pay. We have enough money to pay for really
And it does
good
even matter.
therapy.
Exactly. all the psych meds that you could possibly want are at our disposal now.
But if you've made it this far, keep going.
You didn't give up. You
Yeah.
didn't listen to the haters. We don't have any haters yet, but maybe you will.
Not a
and
single
maybe you
hater.
did.
Not
Over
a
the year,
single
you
hater.
saw some hate comments that were mean, and you said, "I don't care
You
about
don't
that."
care. Yeah, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of both
You're
of
hot,
you. You're
And
hot.
you're funny,
And you're funny.
and you're interesting,
and you're scared.
And you is important.
And
You is
important.
Yay! I cannot wait a year from now. I cannot wait. Okay, so before we pivot from horror, I wanted to ask. So in college, I studied Hitchcock. That was like I can't even remember what class it was, but we study a lot of like his, Psycho and all of the psychological films that he made and how he influenced what Hollywood is today. Are you going to talk more about, are you going to focus in horror, or are you going to go into exploring the new releases as well?
the new releases of horror,
yeah. Mhm.
specifically. Yeah, I feel like I love new releases, and I have AMC Stubbs A-list. If you don't have it, please go get it.
Yeah.
But I go see at 3 movies a week, and so
Damn, girl.
yeah, I get my money's worth.
Yeah.
I love it. But one thing that I love so much about it is that, like, because you're paying a flat fee, I'm not so invested. Like, I'll go see anything. If there's a B horror movie, a C horror movie, you made it on your grandma's camera, I don't care. I'll go see it. And something that I'm always looking for on TikTok, on the internet in general, is like movie recommendations, like what horror movies are coming out this year. And I would love to be a voice that can share that with other people. And so I think definitely new releases will be something on our radar. But there are so many horror movies that Geri hasn't seen.
So many.
So
And I feel like there's like so many great ones. So we want to go back and also identify those and like even do like classic or, you know, like 80s, 90s.
It's very interesting. And I'm wondering what you girls would discover as you do your research, because horror back then was completely different. Something like simple as like the I'm going to bring up Psycho, the shower scene was so traumatic at that time, and now we watch it and we're just like, that's nothing,
Yeah.
And so it's very I'm excited for you girls too. Well, I'm excited to learn from both of you and all the research that you're gonna make, because I don't know, like there's something so pure about classic horror films that we don't get that today.
that's true.
I don't know.
Yeah. I do feel like as the world gets darker, people get harder to scare.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a friend in high school who her mom was like terrified of birds because of the movie
Yeah.
The Birds. And I was like, this movie sounds so scary. And I went to go see it and I was like, this is the movie that traumatized a generation.
I know. Vertigo was one too that I was just like.
But if you can appreciate it from like the time period, and that if it's the first of its kind, it's like it's going to make an effect. And and I think that with horror, something I really enjoy about it is like it's always trying to push the bounds. So it's always evolving.
Yeah.
Because people get harder to scare, because there's things that have already been done. Like even, the first time I saw The Conjuring, the original Conjuring, it scared me for I think 4 months. I slept with the nightlight on. And now I could see something of the same caliber and be like, nothing, not even a jump scare. And so it's always having to evolve with the times. But I think because of that, because it's always evolving, you do get an appreciation for the classics.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
it's what started it all.
Yeah.
But also the idea of like what's at the heart of what they're talking about, right? It's cool because the older ones have like practical stuff that happens there. So it's not as much CGI, which I think that is something cool to appreciate. And then also, I think horror is so emblematic of the time. So like, what are they talking about? Who are they talking about? Who are the villains? What is the topic that they're discussing is such a reflection of what's going on in society. And that feels very cool. And that's why I also think it's going to be so prevalent the next 4 years and moving on. But like, it's such a cathartic way to tell stories, but it's also a way that we can digest really big concepts easier. Because it feels
I took a class in college. It was called Zombie Apocalypse.
Stop.
And
Are you
yeah,
for real?
it was shout out to Vera and Jeanette, best professors ever. I still
You
contact
still
them on
remember
Facebook.
your professor's
Heck yeah.
name?
It was
my
the most
gosh.
impactful class I took in college because we looked at society and like racism through the lens of zombie apocalypse movies and the ways in which like zombies represented sort of like the outskirts of society and the way that like people, it's like a snapshot of culture at that time. And I think there's a lot to learn and like garner from that. So
You don't realize how much poetry is in horror until you dive deep in. Even something as simple as the lighting. Like I remember another hit, I can't remember what movie it was, but the professor was like, now look at the villain's lighting and look at our hero. And I go, something as simple like that, and I'm just like writing my essay and just be like so obsessed about it.
Well,
But
even in Smile too, we stopped the film a couple of times to look at how they were lighting the protagonist and then everybody else and what they had behind her and what was like the view. It's super interesting. It's so specific. And not to say that every film isn't super intentional and the art department is so on their game, but it is really interesting. And if you stop to take a look at the intentionality around it, it really builds your experience.
So much
of
of the dread that you feel is from all of like the elements coming together, and you almost don't even realize it until you're paying close attention.
Imagine watching a horror movie without sound. It's not the same experience.
No,
you're
that's
just
why
seeing.
Hack for you when you get scared. If you're watching a horror movie and you don't want to jump, plug your ears.
That's what I do.
Don't
That's
cover
what
your
I do.
eyes. Yeah, because a lot of it like
is the sound.
It's just sound.
That feeling of dread, the jump scare, it's all in the sound. So
I learned that in going into the haunted houses. I would just like not plug my ears, but like cover my ears and like it made the experience a little bit easier.
Yeah, 100%.
I like to scream in those though.
Therapeutic.
I can attest to that.
All right, so you girls just came back from Sundance, right? How was that? Which, by the way, I loved all of your stories. Was it cold?
Oh my God. It was way colder than I
20 degrees colder than last year, and I was unprepared.
Before we go into it, did you plan your outfits when you were packing, or like, okay, it's gonna be this cold?
Well,
how was the packing process?
I planned based on degrees, like temperature from a year ago, which is not. Don't do that, obviously, because it was like 35 degrees last year. Fine, this. 14.
Yeah, 7. It was 7 degrees. We walked out one morning and the nose hairs inside my nose started freezing. I was like, what is happening?
We were walking back to our place at one point and it had been snow. So we were like a little wet and we were like, let's just We're fine. Like it was, yeah. So
It was crazy.
unprepared, but
Yeah.
we looked very cute.
You did.
Hot.
You did.
Well, actually, the trick of Sundance, and I learned this on accident, but it's layers.
Oh yeah.
Layers. Because you go from like, because usually you're out all day. Like you get up in the morning, you get dressed, and then you don't come home until the wee hours, and you have a lot of events in a day. So one day I had a jacket on, a sweater, a long sleeve, and a tank top.
Oh yeah.
And I'm glad because we started, walking outside in 7-degree weather, and then we ended up at a club.
Where the tank top
Where
was
the
good,
tank top-
and
yeah.
I was in a sweater.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and it was so hot with 2 layers of fleece tights.
Oh, yeah, fleece tights.
Trying
are
to
also a hack.
dance in the club.
Yeah, you looked
In
hot.
the club.
So hot.
In the club.
In the club.
Yeah.
It's club now.
In the club. We
That's
all
the one
went.
thing I know.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
club.
Yeah.
We also saw a lot of the cast of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, which I was
I did.
fangirling so hard.
I asked one of the husbands to take a shot ski with
a shot ski.
which is hilarious.
Was this your first time in Sundance? I've never been. I've never
I
had
went-
the chance to go yet.
My parents, when I was in like middle school, took us on a family vacation there. And I remember it vividly because my dad took my brother and I to see Last House on the Left, which is very inappropriate. And there is one scene in particular that is like a very long sexual assault scene. And my dad was like, this is not okay. So he took my younger brother out of the theater and left me.
Oh.
So I watched that movie by myself
Okay.
at Sundance. That was my
Probably-
last time there.
I went for the first time last year, so this
Okay.
is my second time.
So I'm always curious because like you don't go to Sundance if you have only because you have a movie. You can go just to
Anybody can.
Yeah, anybody
Anybody
can go.
can.
Yeah. I have a couple projects in development, and I'm looking for funding. And also, I found that it just, I don't know, it's like filmmaker camp, honestly.
Yeah.
And because of the nature of Park City, which it's leaving, it's so small. So people feel really accessible, and they're so kind, and it's such a cool, inspiring way to start the year.
Okay.
So,
how long?
yeah.
How long were you there for? Is it like about a week?
We were there for 5 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really cool. So you don't need a film. I mean, ideal world, we would
Love
have
to
a
have
film.
Love to have a film. Next
love to go
Sundance,
back.
we will have a film.
That's right.
But yeah, it's such a, I don't know, I think anywhere you can go to meet other filmmakers and be inspired and network and make new friends. It's cool.
Yeah.
Aw.
We met a lot of filmmakers who are working on some really, really, really cool
So
stuff.
cool. Yeah.
And people our age or younger who are creating their own stuff. I was just so inspired. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, it makes it all feel so possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially at the beginning of the year, it's just like a cool way. And with what we came out of in LA, it was just
Yeah.
nice to see people come together and be supportive and doing it. Like they're doing the thing, you
Yeah.
know, like even bigger celebrities we saw on panels, they're still fighting to get their visions made
Yeah.
and to like find
Yeah.
their own voice in their creativity and that.
Love
That's cool.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so as women in the field, what advice would you give to other women that are looking to break into the industry, especially having the experience after having the experience in Sundance and being in that energy? What's something that you would tell, I don't know, a 17-year-old?
Get
Marissa.
a really good therapist.
That's true. Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah. I feel like for me, the most important thing over the last couple of years, like since living in LA, was developing a really strong sense of self because there's a lot of bullshit that you have to fight through. Like a lot of voices telling you what you need to be, who you need to be, what you need to look like. You'll be successful in this way and not in this way. And there's just so many boxes that you can be put in. And so making sure that you have a really strong connection to like your inner voice, I think is the biggest gift. And it also helps when you're walking into something like Sundance or something like Comic-Con, like the influence and wanting to be accepted, all this, like it's there. And so to be able to feel confident in who you are, and I'm not saying that I'm there. It's like a work in progress. Geri had to talk me through a lot of crises of self, because it's a battle that you never stop fighting. But having those tools in your back pocket to walk into those events and say, I know who I am and I know what I have to offer. And I know that like my voice is important and matters. It just, I think it's going to give you the longevity rather than just being like, I don't know, trying to be what the culture, like what the moment or what some producer with money wants in that moment.
Well said.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
What she said.
What she said. Yeah, I guess 3 things sort of come to mind. The first is to really find your own joy. I think it's so easy to externalize it or to get validation from getting cast in something else. And so, like for me, it's like comedy and making my own stuff or even taking classes where I have more autonomy over my experience. So if that is creating for you, or if it's knitting, or if it's like hiking, like finding your own joy and finding how the process can be joyful as opposed to this like end product that I think we're striving for, because that goalpost is always going to keep moving. And so like finding like what does your creative journey look like? And I think that's been a really big part of my experience, and shifting it to like, this is my life now, you know, like not what I book that I hope I'm going to book later. And then, the other piece is, I think as an actor for a long time, I was like positioning myself in a way where I need something from other people as opposed to being a value add. And so I think a big shift in my focus in the last couple of years, especially as I've started producing and directing and creating my own work, is that one, how can I ask people what I can do for them? And how can I find ways that I can add to their experience, or I can add value to what they're doing, and finding that for myself, because that has given me a tremendous amount of confidence of like, oh, I'm not just like leeching or asking for something. I'm adding value. I'm bringing something to the table. I'm entertaining, a bigger conversation that allows for everybody to sort of win, and asking how I can help. I think like sometimes, it's like this idea of like, pick me, as opposed to like, well, how can I help you? What are you looking for? And I know a lot of people, and if I'm not a fit in that way, like, can I add to your project in some way? And so I think like finding that has been really useful. And then the last piece is like, there are no fucking rules. And so like stop asking for permission and just start doing. And that's why I started going to Comic-Con. That's why I started going to Sundance. That's why I started breaking into some bigger things, just because just because I was like, I don't want to sit at home anymore. Like I don't want somebody to tell me, okay, now it's your time. Like it's my time now. And I'm just gonna do it now. And that has been really liberating as well. And I think that took a long time still is like a process of let's do it. But it's helpful. So I don't feel like helpless. I feel empowered to.
I want to add, based on that finding like a community of people who support you in all of that, because like having meaningful friendships that are the people that are in the industry, but people who are outside of the industry, or friendships that like reach beyond the industry, I should say, is so important, because you are reminded of who you are and why people love you outside of like this constant validation from the industry, because you're never going to really get it from the industry. It's just, you're going to be constantly looking for it, and being able to like rely on your community and like fall back on them and find joy in that is so huge.
Yeah, well said. Oh my gosh, ladies, how can I be more like you? I'm over here like, damn, I do nothing with my life. Like,
as you have this amazing setup and like,
as I'm doing this podcast. Sorry, Shay, you know what I mean.
He's nothing.
He's nothing. He's just there.
But really, am I anything? Are we anything?
Are we anything? What are we? So if you could spend a day with any female icon, past or present, who would it be and why?
Oh my God, Lucille Ball.
Yes!
In a second. Oh, what a dream. Just like a powerhouse of a human, what she created, her timing, her meticulous attention to like her craft, what she built. with that show. I just, everything that she did, I think is so inspiring. Even just like the aesthetic that she had, bringing like, she's not perfect, but she's flawed and beautiful in her own way. And I would be so honored to spend any time with that woman.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good answer.
I'm gonna have to second that.
The first person that came to my mind was Kate Winslet.
Yeah.
I'm just so obsessed with her. I mean, we know that I've been obsessed with Titanic since I was a wee little lass. But I feel like she's just so inspiring to me in her continued push for self-assuredness through all of the Hollywood bullshit. Recently I was watching her talk about and just like her vulnerability through it all. I was watching her talk, I think it was on 2020. She was like watching a clip of herself being scrutinized when she was a young actress for her body and being called fat. And the way that she like held empathy for herself as a young person, and then the way that she like, it didn't make her bitter, and it also didn't shut her down. Like, she stayed wide open and vulnerable, and also grew in strength and confidence. And in her most recent show on HBO, not her most recent show, it was a couple years ago at this point, the Mayor of Kingstown.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So good.
So good. But she fought against having her poster retouched because, she's like has wrinkles and she's getting older. And apparently the original poster that they had presented to her like made her not look like that. And she's like, no, like I want to be the woman that I am. Like, and that was so important to her. And I've just seen her in so many different types of projects. She's just so freaking cool. And I want to be like her in every way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are good
Yeah.
good women. Good
Yeah.
women to look up to. Speaking of women, we were talking earlier about Sex and the City and like how, they represented a certain way that women would, present themselves in society. It is very different than what we are right now. What is something that you wish women were talking about more in the media or in real life? Like I know now we have more power in our words, and we realize that women who lead have a lot of power. What's something that we're not talking about or that we're not taking serious in how the role of the woman in society plays?
That's a good
I
question.
think
That's a really good question.
so
What are
many
conversations
things.
that we're having that we're maybe not taking serious? What are conversations that we're not having that we should be talking about? Obviously, the first one for me is going to be like, we need to have more leading positions.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's period.
Yes.
100%.
But because there's just a lot of insane battles that we have been consistently fighting over and over and over and over again. And yet the power that we have is less and less, especially in the next 4 years. We don't know what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
What is something that we need to do? Is it making more movies and talking about it? Is it being in podcasts and talking about it? What can we fucking do to make this world a better place?
That is a really great question.
Yeah, I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is body autonomy, and I do think we are talking about it. I had a podcast for a while, a couple of years, where I was talking about like sex and love, and I would bring on different guests where we would talk about like what they were into and what intimacy looked like, and then how that translated into policy and legislation around our bodies or around sex work, or even around reproductive rights. And so I feel like it's been interesting, like as Roe v. Wade was overturned, a lot of the mandates for film that I was hearing was to actively not talk about abortion and not talk about healthcare access. And I feel like that is a necessary part of our filmmaking and as creatives to be speaking about. And also just like reproductive care in general for women's bodies, not even to have a baby or not, but just like how our society and how our healthcare system views our body and how it is even approached is just so horrifying. And it feels like there's not it's hard to advocate for yourself, and it's hard to even get care that feels like it's nourishing and empathetic and attends to your specific body and what you're going through. And so I think like that's what comes to mind. There's more details in that, but this idea of like body autonomy and what we do with our bodies and how we do it, it feels really important to me.
Yeah, I to piggyback off what you said really quick, there's a TikTok that I saw the other day where this guy was talking about how if he was in his mom's womb and abortion rights are taken away, then gosh, how do I want to phrase this? I'm without explaining the entire 5-minute TikTok. Essentially that a woman has more rights over her body if she like needed to be a donor or something like that. Like they would never take your skin or your eyes or your organs without your permission. Even if you were a match, even if a person was going to die without your organ donation, like they still couldn't take it from you. So your body is yours in that regard. But if there's a body inside of you, like or a fetus inside of you, then.
And then after that process, right, like 100%. And then like postpartum, how we deal with women and how we deal with childcare. Like it took years, and I can't remember the date that we got free kindergarten, but preschool still costs money. And so for a lot of families, it's like, how do you even have access to childcare, let alone this idea of like postpartum, you know, the cycle for maternity after you have the baby, it continues on, but the mother it's not a part of the conversation as much. And so I think like that entire process, we need more conversation about what that looks like here, because it's true. Like all of a sudden we become unimportant.
Like a vessel.
Yeah, a vessel.
A growth vessel.
But then once the baby is out, it also doesn't matter.
It also doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
It's like only this like bundle of cells that is like so
it's like
important.
the most important thing.
It's like, what are you doing,
Yeah,
you
I know.
people? What's
I know.
wrong?
I saw
It's because it's the idea of the thing and not an actual
Right.
human being.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
There it
it's
is. Ding, ding,
it's a
ding.
lot
Yeah.
easier to value the idea.
A couple of days ago, I was scrolling on Instagram and I saw a video. I'm so sorry. It's part of an Asian culture. I can't remember exactly what country it was, but it was there. I don't know if it was a law or if it was just part of the culture that after the woman gives birth, she is basically goes into recovering vacation mode, and the dad and the rest of the family handle the newborn, the first 3 months of the newborn baby. And I was just like, imagine that. Oh my God. I bet this country would be way better if that was the case. Can you imagine like if Shane and I have a baby and I'm just gonna, and then after that, it's okay. It's your turn to take care of it. I carried it for 9 months. Here you go.
And your body is like recovering then from what it just went through, the trauma it went through, all of it. And so you're already sort of giving at a lesser percentage because you're healing. You have to turn the focus into yourself. So yeah,
the fact that that's not considered, it's psychotic.
It's crazy.
I remember and even the comments, everybody was like, what? Like the fact that we never thought of this. And it just goes back to that. It's like, no, we need recovery. After surgery, you recover.
Yeah.
After pushing a fucking child, you recover.
I remember taking an anthropology class in college, and this has always stuck with me. And we discussed like womb envy and this idea that like men had womb envy, and they would do these ceremonies that would basically like they would give birth in ways, right? And so they would like emulate that process. And I feel like, honestly, that's just where we're at right now. Like womb envy has gotten out of control. Yeah. No offense. And because like, think about it, like we have the capacity of bringing life into the world, and whether you choose to do that or not is your absolute choice. But just like to not even appreciate that for what it is, and to honor that gift and that choice and that ability is insane. To like highlight just an appendage that shoots goo over that.
Not the goo shooter.
A goo shooter. I've never said that in my
really
life.
funny.
I'll never
That is really
think of
funny.
anything different.
And look,
Let me see a goo
love
shooter.
the goo shooters. Big fan. But it is. It does. It feels like the conversation is being so pushed to one side, which is to distract us, right, from everything that's happening. And so bringing it back into, you know, body autonomy, queer and trans rights, like women's rights, like how can we regain autonomy and ownership over our own body?
Yeah. I'm just surprised that women haven't collectively started a war.
Well, okay,
I'm all for it.
That's a little bit what I was thinking, because what I feel like right now, and this isn't a new idea or revolutionary by any means, but like the patriarch, for all intents and purposes, like it thrives when women are turned against each other, because a conversation I think we need to have more is like women being more community-based towards each other, because right now it feels like there's only a few coveted positions that women can have. And getting to the top is so difficult for a woman to do in any industry.
Yeah. And
it means crawling on top of other women to get there sometimes, when really it's the system that's working against us. It's not other women, but we are forced in the system that we're currently in to turn on each other, or to like hold each other to these ridiculous standards. It makes it really hard to like admit the mistakes that you've made, or just like be a vulnerable person, because you have to be sort of this idealized version of a person. Like something I think about a lot with our industry and like making it in this industry is this pressure I feel like, if I'm going to be successful, it means I have to like represent some type of ideal version of a woman, even if that ideal version is like a woman who's like struggling with her body. Like I feel like I have to be the perfect version of that, of whatever that is. Like I can't even do that incorrectly, because you have to represent something, you have to sell something. And it's just, it puts so much pressure on women to be perfect and to turn against each other, to like highlight other people's imperfections. Like, well, I'm not perfect, but she's not perfect either.
Yeah.
And I really think, like, as women, we need to care for each other and remind each other that it is like the system built against us in a lot of ways. And that, I don't know, I think one of the things that we can do, like I would love to start a war of all women, but it's like, that means women have to work together and not be against each other. And even with like women's rights, it's become like pro-life versus pro-choice women turning against each other. And I'm like, no, like we are on the same team here.
Yeah.
So
and I feel like the antidote, honestly, to commodification, which is capitalism, right, which patriarchy lives within, is empathy, and is like love, which sounds trite, but I do think like that's the truth of like, I think one of, and that's not that all women are like this, but I think like we have the capacity of this vulnerability and of this idea of connection. And I feel like the commodification and the idea of separating disconnects us. And so the antidote to that, I do feel like, is this connection of, I feel like this, oh, you also feel like this. It's not bringing you down because of it. It's this similarity that we have of this human experience. And I do think in this divisive time that we're in, the more we can find those commonalities, which exists for all of us, and that human experience, that's the thing that is going to bring us together.
And I think too, last thing, like, is being aware of the cycles that Hollywood and like the industry puts women in. Like we saw it happen with Jennifer Lawrence, right? Like she's this it girl, she's this cool girl, she's just like the guys, she eats cheeseburgers, blah, blah, blah. And everyone's like, oh my God, she's so cool. Oh, we love her. And then at some point, the culture turns. Like the culture turns on them, and it's like, oh my God, she's try hard. Like, and we see it happen with Taylor Swift. Like Taylor Swift's gone through 500 cycles of this, where we love them, we build them up so much, and then they get too big, and then it's like we hate them, they're stupid, everything's bad, and we just do this to women again and again and again.
And we don't do that to men.
No, like we really don't. We don't hold them to the same standards.
No.
I mean,
they get a dad bod, and we're like, dad bod.
Dad bods are hot.
They're like,
let me touch that bod.
I mean, yes, sure.
That's something that we could keep. We can keep that. That's something.
Just for you, Shade.
Look, dad bods are cool.
Or like being a criminal and being allowed back in the White House.
Yeah, exactly.
Eating
another
an assaulter.
conversation. Yeah, look at that.
People.
Okay, last thing. If you were stuck in an island, what are 3 things that you would... You already answer this.
Okay.
Harley already answered. So Geri.
Oh God.
If you were stuck in a desert island, what are 3 things that you would bring?
Oh man, I feel like I should have prepared.
Off the cuff, go, go. You know, hurry, fast,
God, I don't know. The 3 things I would bring.
Yeah.
First 3 things you
Gilmore
can.
Girls was the first thing that popped in
All
my head.
right,
I'm like, how do I
complete
play it?
DVDs.
Hey,
A DVD.
DVDs, a DVD player, an outlet, a generator. Okay, are we doing practical or are we doing
Just the first 3 things.
Survival
First 3 things.
skills, baby.
No,
I know, I'm like, I need
anything.
Okay.
In the first 3 things.
the first thing? Well, okay, a practical way. I need a knife.
Yes.
Ooh,
A sharp knife?
Yeah.
I need the knowledge
So books,
how to build a fire.
a survival book.
A survival book. But a thick one that I could also burn later.
Once you have the knowledge, you don't need the book.
Yeah. And then like an endless supply of food.
Yes. Beautiful. All right. Well, ladies, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having
I am so
us.
excited for you, and I cannot wait to see the Horde Girls. You see, I can't even say it right.
Horde girls.
Horde English. So where can our viewers find you? Plug in your socials, Harley.
Yes. So personally, you can find me on Instagram at Harley Bronwyn and on TikTok at Harley Bronwyn.
Yes, and at Geri Courtney Austein on Instagram and TikTok as well.
Yeah. But we are launching our TikTok channel, The Horde Girls, today.
Woo!
It is launching today. Check it out.
Yes,
It will,
give us a follow.
yes, please. And be patient while we figure out our first few videos, because I'm sure it'll be an interesting figuring out our
It's gonna
backdrop
be
took
so
an
fun.
hour and a
Yeah.
half, guys. Okay, we're millennials. I don't
Come
know.
on this journey with us. It's gonna be real fun and real scary.
We're gonna give you all the horror movies to see, all the horror movies you should go back and watch, the ones to watch on a first date, if you like them in person and if you don't.
We're gonna give some like before and after reactions.
Lots of listicles.
Lots
So
of
many
listicles.
And
Yeah.
a lot of Geri crying after every horror movie. I'm
Oh
about
my
to
gosh,
make her
so
watch.
exciting.
A lot of me crying.
Can I come every once in a while and
Heck
talk about ghosts?
Yes.
I'll only talk about ghosts.
Okay.
You can come and watch. I mean, between the two of you, I feel guilty now. I'm going to traumatize my friends. But it's all for your entertainment.
Yeah.
Aw, well, thank you again,
Yay!
ladies.
Thank you.
Reminding our viewers to visit our website, afterweshop.com, where you can find our merch. And shout out to the after party, both VIP and backstage pass. You can join in the party at patreon.com/afterwerapshow. Thank you so much, ladies. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.